So I bought this toy for my daughter for Christmas, but then I realized it's a piece of junk and I can't give her that. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised. It was super cheap. So instead, I'm gonna make it into art. But first, it's required. I must test it out. Come on, I can do it. Hold up, I almost got it. Almost there. Yeah, she scores! Woo! Okay, so when I saw this thing, it immediately made me think of Fallout. And look at this, I'm taking this picture because I'm super optimistic. I think I'm gonna get this thing back together when I'm done. Like, actually functional. Spoiler, it does not work. I end up breaking it. And there's way too many pieces to remember where they went. Honestly, it took me like an hour and a half just to get it partially apart. I bought this thing for something like $3. How is it put together so well? It's supposed to be a cheap piece of junk. I should just blow on it and it should fall apart. But apparently it did not get that memo. It's giving off high-end toy vibes, which, you know what, good for it. What's that saying? You have to dress for the job you want and not the job you have? Well, this toy dressed up as at least a $10.99 toy. Finally, I removed its top. Uh-oh, it's topless. Anyways, and then it stole my knife at some point. It's literally holding me at knife point. Look, I'm gonna speed through this because it's embarrassing and you don't need to see me humbled by a piece of junk toy, but I will show you the part where I defeat it. Oh, I got you, stupid freaking toy, in your face. I don't have anger issues. It's the toy's fault. It's not my fault. Anyways, so I sanded it all down and took off all its stickers. How's that make you feel, toy? Naked and exposed? Shwabam. So then I painted it more Fallout-y colors. Speaking of Fallout, what am I making? Well, Ashley, I'm glad you asked. If you've played Fallout, which side note I highly suggest, it's my favorite game. There's this crane game called the Porta that distributes plates of food instead of stuffed animals. Not that it's really a game. I think it's more of like a vending machine, but it has a claw. And you know, all the food in there is moldy because Fallout takes place hundreds of years into the apocalypse. So I guess post-apocalyptic? What was that word? Post-apocalyptic. But in some of the machines, there's a perfectly preserved pie. Hold up, check this out. I accidentally melted the shell of this, but I kind of like it. It looks like bent metal, right? So I guess that's a happy accident. Anyways, back to the Porta. So there's this perfectly preserved pie that you can get, but the chances of getting it is like 1 in 100. But that doesn't stop me from trying every single time I see one. It's one of my favorite things to do in Fallout. I know, I'm lame, but I collect perfectly preserved pies. Hey, what do you do in your spare time? Probably something productive. Loser. Look, we all have our things, okay? Anyways, so I'm making a version of the Porta. It's not quite like the Porta, but it's gonna have the feel of the Porta. It was either that or I was gonna make a Nuka-Cola machine, and I really considered that. But why would I do that when I have this super awesome claw that's perfect for picking up perfectly preserved pies? But I wanted it to look old, you know, being the post-apocalypse and everything. So I added my bubbles, and next we're gonna foil it. See, here's my foil. And whoops, dang it, I hate it when my foil rolls up. It's almost like it doesn't want to be foiled. Ah, your plan to foil me has been foiled, foil. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, foil gets everywhere, so I have to have my fortress of suction ready for any sucking up of the foils that try to infiltrate my studio. Oh, and look at that, we have a shiny claw, but the post-apocalypse isn't shiny. It's supposed to be dirty. Whew, that was a close one. All right, now that our claw is looking very post-apocalyptic, let's install it into our machine. Oh yeah. Okay, next we're gonna need some plates, you know, with it being a Porta after all. We need the diner part, and I struggled to figure out how to make plates. First, I was thinking, okay, I should use clay, but I've tried to make plates before in clay, and it never turns out. Also, if I wanted to make something in clay, I'd have to walk up all these stairs into my kitchen to bake it, and you know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm lazy. So instead, I used Shrinky-Dink plastic, because it was right next to me. And I molded the plastic and the spoon to give it a more plate shape, because we like plate-shaped plates. It would be weird if it was fish-shaped. Anyways, next, I assume this food has been sitting in the Porta for like hundreds of years. And why it's not just dust is beyond me. Maybe the Porta seals in the freshness? I don't know. It's the apocalypse. There's a lot of unanswered questions in the apocalypse. It's definitely gonna have some mold. And so I used this flocking to make mold. That's right, I flocked the crud out of this food. And if you recognize some of this food, it's because it was left over from my bunker video. If you saw that video, I made a bunch of like little preservatives inside of jars with vegetable. Here, let's do a flashback. These are adorable. I love them so much. And look, I'm putting little fruit in them. Or I mean vegetables. I guess tomatoes are a fruit. And I'm not sure what green beans are, but I think they're a fruit because the seed is on the inside, right? Ooh, and then this meat came from my bologna video, if you saw that one. If you didn't, you should. You should go back and watch those videos.
Bologna.
Okay, maybe don't go back and watch that one unless you want to lose the meaning of the word bologna. You know what? No, go back and watch that one. I think it was good. Anyways, okay, so I cheated with this one because I didn't actually make these little slices of fruit. Look, I've tried to make the little slices of fruit thing from scratch and it's really hard. Oh, and here we are back with my bag of mold, spraying my mold on all my food. Look, doesn't that look cool? Okay, what kind of food would you eat in an apocalypse situation? I mean, there's the classic rat burger, but honestly, rats are gross, I think. I've never eaten one. But I think I would go with like cockroach. I mean, I think cockroach has at least some protein. And from what I understand, protein's good for you, I think. I don't know. One thing is, I know I wouldn't be eating this perfectly preserved pie because what is in this pie that makes it perfectly preserved? Do you think this is what McDonald's French fries will look like in the apocalypse? Because I know you've experienced the fry phenomenon. You know, the month-old fry that's been underneath your car seat. And it looks like it just rolled under there 10 minutes ago. But you haven't had McDonald's for at least a couple weeks. How does it do that? What are they putting in those? Maybe it was perfectly preserved pies that caused the apocalypse and fallout. I know it wasn't. But maybe. You don't know. Anyways, we've gotten way off topic. So I'm making this perfectly preserved pie out of clay. That's right. I went up the 23 stairs to get to the kitchen to bake this perfectly preserved pie. And I'm just going to tell you right now, it was not worth going up the 52 steps of stairs because I don't know, it doesn't look like this. Bad pie, good pie. Not perfectly preserved pie, perfectly preserved pie. Okay, so I started over. No big deal. Things happen. Even though I walked up 150 steps to bake the pie, I'm just going to make it out of foam core now because foam core is more like cake anyway. Or I mean pie. Oh, wait a second. This doesn't look like pie. What kind of pie looks like this? That is cake. This is pie. Well, no wonder why I screwed it up the first time. This is perfectly preserved cake. The game has it wrong. Which, okay, I get it. Perfectly preserved pie rolls off the tongue way better than perfectly preserved cake, but it's wrong. Anyways, there's my perfectly preserved cake pie. And lastly, we gotta add the glass back on, you know, to preserve the freshness of the perfectly preserved cake pie. And there it is. What do you guys think of my Fallout Porta Diner, complete with perfectly preserved pie? Ooh, also, don't forget, I have a book, Creepy Crafts. Link is in the description or bio or whatever. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye! Does anybody have any video game obsessions? Because my obsession is Fallout. I love this game. If I were in this game in real life, I mean, let's be honest, I'd die right away. But if I didn't, I would be a junk collector. I mean, in this game, I have settlements that are just big piles of teddy bears. So if it were real life, I would probably collect something really stupid, like the A key on every keyboard. Or rubber bands, and I'd make a huge rubber band ball. Or just cats. I'd collect cats. Or I'd go into everybody's house and collect one photo. That way I could pretend that they're all my friends. Yeah, because I'm really popular, and I have lots of friends. It's a good thing everybody's dead so they can't fact check me. Actually, I don't know how I lived. I have 0 survival skills. I'm pretty sure I would starve right away. I don't know what plants to eat. Day 1 of the apocalypse and I'm poisoned. Because Deadly Nightshade looked pretty good. And let's be honest, if we don't have real indoor plumbing, is it really worth living? Anyways, here's my Fallout painting. Hey, what do you guys think? And what would you collect in the apocalypse? Be honest. It's cats, isn't it? You would collect cats. Alright guys, I'm doing another painting here, and this time I'm going dystopian future. I'm just starting off with an acrylic background with some details, and then I'll apply the oil over top because oil is kind of translucent and I'll be able to see the details underneath. Now in my dystopian world, one of the remaining businesses would be a bar, obviously. Because if it's the end of the world as we know it, let's face it, we're all going to be drinking. And I think you could make alcohol pretty easily, right? Without supply chain issues. I don't know exactly what we'd be drinking, and I don't think you'd want to know. But let's be honest, do we really care? It's the end of the world. All right, that's it. When the end of the world comes, I am opening a bar. Maybe it'll be a bar and restaurant. Although I'm not quite sure what I'd cook. Rat burgers? I've heard cockroaches can live through the apocalypse. Anyways, it's definitely going to need a name like Catastrophic Cafe, or Doomsday Diner, or Bloodbath Bistro. Ooh, Hardship Hideaway. Although I'll probably end up just calling it Annihilation. Get it? Annihilation. Although if it's an inn, does that mean that I have to let people stay there? Because I trust nobody in the apocalypse. Also, what do you think the cash situation will be? Are we like fallouting it with bottle caps? I suppose I could charge whatever I wanted. I think my currency is going to be cats. I know it sounds like a terrible currency, but hear me out. I'm assuming cats are very rare, and I don't think I could live my life without a cat or two. Ooh, and they could catch rats for my rat burgers. And I could charge people to pet my cats in my catastrophe cafe. Double pun. Yes. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a cat cafe in the apocalypse. Nobody steal my idea. Also, what other businesses are surviving? Because if I had to pay 3,000 bottle caps to buy this bar, which translates to about 10 cats, I'm going to need to know what my competition looks like. I guess it depends on how quickly the world fell into dystopia. I mean, judging by the state of the road in the background, probably pretty quick. It looks like we were flung into doomsday by some sort of natural disaster. My guess would be global warming. Anyways, would you eat at my catastrophe cafe?